when I coach and work with younger people or mentor, like I work with formerly incarcerated individuals to mentor them into reentry. And there's so many things that I share with them now that I think are so important. And they're, again, sort of these softer skills sometimes. And one is that no one's going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, because I think, myself deeply included in this statement, really struggled with that confidence and really felt like I was never good enough. And I was constantly comparing myself to people. And I just began to realize over time that no one else was going to be the knight in shining armor coming in to make my business work for me. I wasn't necessarily going to get like the press hit or the Oprah's, favorite things list. And that wasn't going to make everything just come to be. And that if I didn't believe in what I was creating and putting out into the world the most, why in the world would anyone else care or want to subscribe to helping me build and create this thing either? And it sounds so obvious, but I think at the end of the day, like, we are inundated by so many messages that are forcing us to compare and see what everyone else is up to and see their highlight reels and all of these things, that spaciousness we were talking about previously is so essential, because you have to be able to tap back into yourself to understand that inherent value that you have in the first place, and to trust yourself and your ideas enough anyway to not let all that noise impact. So even in this conversation right now, my hope is always that someone might take one or two things that really resonate with you, but rarely should the entire kit and caboodle be the thing that you take away, because you have to put it through the sieve of you, of your own authenticity, of your own intuition, and let that funnel through and say what actually fits for me and what feels right for me where I am today and where I'm going in the future. And that is usually like a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here. And sometimes we find that all in one mentor or one coach or one guide or one community like this, where there's such an alignment that you can really take more than a piece of it. And the second one is that no one is paying as much attention as you think that they are. And this is sort of a good and a bad thing. It's a bad thing in that we think people are paying attention, so we're not necessarily putting on blast the stuff that we're doing because we're sometimes afraid to sell. We're afraid to step into it. We're afraid of like being annoying or saying it too often. But we have to remember, people are busy in their own little worlds, focusing on their things as much as we're focusing on our own things. And then secondly, it's also very freeing, because I remember beginning to like put my first businesses out there and then continuing to do that over the years and feeling like, well, gosh, like the people I went to high school with are going to judge me, or people are going to think like, well, how did you go from a credit card processing company to a networking events company to a book on children's financial literacy to a coaching business that blends like, life coaching and business strategy. And I was like, oh, like I get the through line. The through line for me is always connection and bettering the outcomes for people through connection of people and connection of resources. But they don't necessarily get that because they're not paying as much attention, which is great. But that was this freeing gift where I thought, well, that allows me to fall on my face. That allows me to scuff my knee up. That allows me to fail, because they're not paying that much attention anyway. And those who are typically cheering you on. They're typically in your corner, which helps build momentum.